Hey you guys, I'd like to thank you again for helping me out with my project. Today I'm going to talk about track and field and the important history that it has, the part that it plays presently, and where the future of it and where it is headed. I'd like you guys to take a peek up here and check out my slides. These are track and field athletes throughout the last 100 years. As you can see, sometimes the shorts are short, and then they got long again, and now they're kind of tight. So, you guys can visualize some of those things in your head while I'm talking to you, and so then you can understand and visualize some of the events that I'm talking about. Okay, first I'd like to talk about the history of the Olympics. I want you guys to understand where they came from. Olympic.org says that the Olympics started, the very first Olympics, in 776 BC. And that was the first organized track and field venue events that's to record. When people think of track, they think of running. When people think of running, they go to marathon. And so the history of the marathon is super interesting. There was a soldier, his name was Piedipides, and he ran 25 miles from Marathon to Athens. He was there to declare that the Persians had been defeated. And he yelled victory, and then he collapsed and died. So any of you guys who had ever run anything ever, whether it's a mile or a marathon or a 100-yard dash, you can understand how he felt to yell victory and then to die. Track and field, you hear those names often together. But track, according to Webster, is a course in which something moves or progresses. So, if you think of a football field, most of you guys have been to a game, the track that goes around the football field, that is the track. That is where running events are held, like hurdles, relays, medleys, the mile, the 100, the 400. And there are a few more. Field, according to Webster, is an area constructed and marked for sports. So if you look outside of that, you will see high jump. They have big mats. High jump and javelin have mats and bars. You can find sand pits for events like shot put and discus. And then you'll have runways for things like triple jump and long jump. And generally javelins and hammer throws are often in the middle of that football field. Not always, but in general. So now that you understand what track and field is and you kind of know what the history is, I'm going to talk about the present influence that it has right now today. Today at middle school, you know that it affects us, especially here at East Minico. We had 2 track meets this last week, and we have our districts next week. And our districts will kind of set where our school standard is or where we kind of fall in line, and it will rank our students for their final places. And after that, and we have high school. So Minico right now today, they are competing to prepare to go to state. If they qualify tonight, they go to state. And the important thing about that is the students in high school that are competing at a state level, they have scholarship opportunities. They have people scouting them. And ultimately, that's what a lot of athletes at the high school level are looking for, is a scholarship. According to athletesscholarships.net, there are over 1,000 track and field programs in colleges and universities. So that's interesting to think about, that if you have all those events, like the mile and the hurdles and the javelin and the hammer throw, and you times that by 1,000, that's how many scholarships are available for high school students. And that's really important because in the end, that's what a lot of those high school athletes want. So presently, who is one of the top running athletes? You're gonna say Usain Bolt, and that is true because we all like him. He was originally a cricket player. His dad pushed him to do track, and his cricket coach actually coached him to the point where he became a competitive athlete in track. For me, on a local level, someone that's not so famous, I started running years and years ago, and at first I could only walk between telephone poles, and then I hit a mile, and then I hit a 5K, and then a 10K, and half marathons, and then a marathon, and then I hit some triathlons, and I love running. It's so great. So we've talked about the present and how it affects us, especially right now. with track season going on, but we want to look to the future and see how does this influence our future? Where are we headed? In 2021, we have track and field conferences opening. We have camps opening for these kids. So a lot of these kids that we are coaching, that we see at a middle school and high school level, they can go to places like CSI and BYU, and they can go to these summer camps and they can improve. This year is the Olympics. They have moved the Olympics from last year to this year. They are being held in Tokyo at the end of July, and we couldn't be more excited. This is a positive way to celebrate the shift of coming out of COVID and celebrating our athletes who have worked so hard their whole life, but also celebrating as a world. We have a future athlete, Kobe. Most of you guys know him. I interviewed him and I asked him, and I said, what is your goal? And he said, I want to set a record for long jump in high school. And that made me really happy. And he also wants to train for a half marathon, which at 14, that's a fantastic goal. So now that you guys know about where track and field came from, where it sits today, and where it's headed, I encourage you guys to participate by cheering on kids at our local level, by asking how they did at their track and field events, and by watching the Olympics and participating with the world by cheering and just being happy for how hard these athletes are working. If you're ever interested in running and picking up the sport, let me know, and I'll send you the information you need to know. So thank you guys for coming. I appreciate your time, and I hope you guys have a good rest of the day. Thank you.